Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Jim Ferguson with Autodesk, and I'm here to go over Autodesk Forma's cost management. When a member logs in to cost management, the first thing they're going to see is their home screen, which has a couple interactive options. First option is the calendar. This brings us to the week that we're in, and anytime you see a black dot in here, that's going to show that something is coming due for that week. It could be a contract that's require our subcontractors to be on site for, or maybe there's a response due for a potential change order. And I can click on these links, and this will bring me into that specific area or task within cost management. The next section is the reviews. This is for internal approval workflows. So if you want multiple people to view certain things like expenses, contracts, change orders, or payment applications, you can set up anywhere from a 1 to 12 person approval. And this will as well bring me into that specific workflow, and I can approve it from there or have a revision made at that point in time. The other two items down below are a pie chart for the original budget, which we can toggle to view things like projected budget or maybe the forecasted final cost. And then to the right over here, we have that same chart, only in a bar chart view with broken down by individual budget codes. And as we hover over there, it gives us all those dollar amounts that are associated with those budget codes. Now, moving along to the budget, which is where everything begins with the with cost management. You can either import this in, manually enter one, or if you're integrating with Agave and an ERP, you can have that information automatically pushed over from the ERP, or you can do it the other way around. Now in this, I have all of my rows, which are indicating all of the cost codes, or in my case, the CSI codes, along with their cost types. So the budget code is basically concatenating those two items. And that allows me to create different groupings or filters on this budget screen, and I can save those. We can save those on each project, or we could save those in the library in account admin, so that way you can share those views across all projects. So the next section here is the columns. Now we have a few different umbrellas. We have the budget, the cost, the forecast section, and the variance. And basically under the budget side, this is where we have imported our original budget. We can view all the change orders that have been approved, maybe any pending change orders, and then view our projected budget, which would be pretty much the revised budget plus all pending owner changes. Now you'll notice that there's a formula that's showing up above. This is another aspect of cost management that you can customize. In the settings, you can create your own columns in this budget screen. And within those columns, you can create your own formulas. So if our formulas don't match, you can put in your own formulas, and you can grab the data points from other areas within cost management, be it the main contract, the budget pay apps, the cost side with the contracts, the cost pay applications, change orders, and also the forecast section. Then as we move over to the right side, we see our cost side. This is showing all of our commitments, the commitments that we're basically going to be paying out for each one of these budget code items. And we have our approved change orders, pending change orders, and then the projected cost, which would be basically the original commitment plus all changes. Unless actual cost is greater than those, then it'll put the actual cost in there. And then finally, in the cost section, we have all of our actual costs, which are going to be all of your approved expenses and approved cost payment applications from our subs or suppliers. Whenever you see a triangle here, we can click on that, and that'll bring up a window down below where we can see more details of the actual costs that have come in for that specific budget code. As we move further to the right, we have our cost forecast section where we have our forecasted final costs and any kind of adjustments that you might put in there. Now, cost forecast adjustment is basically like a pre-change order scenario. So it's going to be something that we haven't got full approval on yet, but we think those costs are going to be coming down the pipe. And then we have the variance section, which is comparing our projected budget to our projected cost, and then the forecast variance is the difference between those two, difference between the projected budget and the projected forecasted final cost. Now, within this, we have options to export this data. So as you create these custom tables. You can export this, create a file, and then send that out in the report section at certain times to other members or outside individuals as needed. There's also a snapshots tool in here, and this allows us to compare the current version with other versions that we have available. Now you can set up a schedule in here where it goes every maybe at the end of every week or the end of every month or anytime in between, and you can set that up for long periods of time. So it just keeps automatically grabbing those, and then you can see the items that have changed, and you're comparing the last version against the current version. Now, the next piece is the main contract, and this is essentially our prime contract or the owner's contract that we're working on, where we have the main item right here, and then underneath it, I've built a schedule of values, and inside the schedule of values, I've added in the budget codes. And those budget codes are necessary for this in order for owner change orders to flow into the payment applications to be sent out to the owners. And then when we look at the budget payment application, it basically mirrors what we've seen in the main contract. So I can go in here and I can bill percentages, I can bill dollar amounts, and it'll back calculate the percentage. And then from this, I can click on my overall contract. I can go ahead and review this thing if I need. I can view the owner details, scope of work, the payment application summary, change order summaries. I can add change orders, and then I have my document package section. Now, the document packages are going to be your company's documents that you're going to be sending out, and it's going to basically contain all of the data that we have in here. You manage those, you can control those, you can add new ones, you could store them on the projects, or you could store them in the account admin library, like those saved views. Other things that can be stored in the account admin library would be things like custom attributes, those views, the formulas, and of course the document templates. There's also an area in here if you need to link to somewhere else in Build, you can link it to forms, issues, photos, and so on. And the next area we're going to go to is the cost section. This is where we create our buyout for the budget. So you can come in here and into the budget. You can either bring the contracts in from the budget or just manually create them in edit mode here. And you can also import those as well. Now, this is a place for us to manage all of our subcontracts, our purchase orders, maybe you have internal contracts, any kind of contracts that you want to bring from your budget into this commitment section. And you'll notice that the grid layout is the same as the budget side. And you can also create your custom columns and custom formulas in here as well. Next section is the cost payment application section, and this would be where you are sending out for approval to your subcontractors the bills that you want them to approve, and then you pay for the work that they've done, or you can give them a limited access into the system so they can create their own pay applications. And it's much like before, we'd click on the hyperlink right here, and you can manage the pay application through here, and of course put in the document package. The next section in cost is the expense side, and this is where typically customers are bringing their payroll in here from their ERP. If you're using Agave for that, as you process the payroll in the ERP, it's going to flow through into cost management, and it's going to be using those budget codes that you're entering in the ERP, and it's just going to flow through into the expense section here. Again, these are going to be payroll costs or maybe miscellaneous cost payment application sort of costs that are coming in this section. Now, as these are approved, same with the cost payment applications, those will show up in the actual costs here in the contract side within cost or in the budget screen under actual costs. So those are all related. So as those costs come in, they show up over in these two sections. The next area is the change order section. Now we have basically when you start a change order, you start out with a potential change order, and you're selecting the scope, and that scope is either in scope, out of scope, budget only, or you could have contingency on your budget as well. Now, as I expand the screen out, you'll notice that I've got all of my budget codes right here, and these are very important for you to move the costs throughout the systems for those change orders. You can also apply markups, and you can have those markups based on rules. So maybe you only want to apply those to subs or labor, and um, and then it'll only calculate based on that. There's also within each one of these change order screens a budget impact and a cost impact column that you can view how it's going to both affect the upstream cash and the budget side or the downstream impact through the cost side. And then we have estimated, approved, and committed. The estimated would be what we've originally estimated on the potential change order. The approved would be what the owner has approved, and the committed is what we've committed to pay our subcontractors. And as we move through as we take those potential change orders and move them through the process, it's going to create the owner changes if it's associated with the budget, so out of scope, contingency, or budget only. It's going to bring those in as well as their markups, and the screen looks similar to the same. Or similar to the last one. You have the budget impact, the cost impact, the estimated, approved, committed, and then it has links to the original potential change order or the supplier change order. And similar thing over here with the subs and supplier changes. You'll see the status that it's in. If it's in review, which it says, I could either approve it right here, or if I'm inside the flyout, I could go up and approve it from over here. And again, the screens are similar to the previous ones where you're seeing the estimated amount, the approved, the committed, the budget, and the cost impact. The cost items are underneath each one of your change order headers, and these are what are touching the budget code themselves. So this is where we're actually able to see all the changes on the contract or on the project. And just like before, we can see our estimated, approved, committed, and then we have hyperlinks to point us to the other areas within the change order section. And finally, we have our forecast section. The forecast section is where we're creating the time aspect of this, and we're bringing it and connecting it to the budget. So in this case, I've created several different project tasks, and those have a start and an end date, and I'm associating these with my budget. So I'm clicking the link to budgets here, and then I'm selecting the items that I want those to hit. And you can see as I do that, it's gonna create those right there, and then it's gonna also tie in with the color from the upper cost and time aspect right there. So we can see mechanical ties down to here, and then as I hover over these, it tells me what my plan cost is for that budget code, as well as my actual cost if I have any at this point. And as you see, if I scroll down, we see all the different colors matching. Finally, we have the cash flow section here, and this is related to the cost and time, and that we're basically taking all those budgets, the undistributed amounts, and we're distributing those along the budgets according to those cost and time schedules that we have. So it's essentially taking our projected budget and it's moving costs into each one of these areas. Now, depending on the distribution method we choose, be it linear, bell curve, front loaded or rear loaded, it's going to take that and add those costs in throughout the totality of the project. The work completed section is going to be for all of the owner pay apps that we've created and have been approved. The actual cost is going to show those actual expenses and cost payment applications that have been approved over in the cost section. And then you have a forecasted final cost, which is going to take all the projected budget plus any pending change orders, and it's going to add all of that in here. And of course, if we need to, we can open this up and we can take one of these, like say masonry right here. And if I want to distribute this, it's going to use the date that I have in my task side back there, and then I can choose from one of those different areas. So if I say this is rear loaded, I distribute that. It's going to take all of those costs and it's going to distribute those along that timeline. And if I look at the analysis screen, it's going to show me that rear loaded budget where it peaks in September and it starts to trail off a little bit here in October.